My name is Callie. I am 29 years old. I thought I knew what love was. I thought my love was strong enough to last forever. I met William 3 years ago. He was kind. He was funny. He made me feel special every day. We met at a small coffee shop. I spilled my drink by accident. He laughed and helped me clean it up. From that day, we started talking. William worked as a car mechanic. He fixed cars all day. His hands were rough, but his smile was soft. We started dating a few weeks after we met. William always said sweet things. He called me my angel. He said he wanted to build a life with me. I believed him with all my heart. I trusted him. I thought we had something beautiful. After 1 year, he moved into my small apartment. We cooked dinner together. We watched movies on the old sofa. We laughed about silly things. At night, he held my hand when we fell asleep. I thought, this is real love. I worked at a bookstore. It was a quiet life, but I liked it. Every evening, William picked me up after work. He waited outside with a smile. Sometimes he brought flowers. Sometimes he brought my favorite chocolate. Small things, but they made me feel loved. He often said, "I am lucky to have you." I smiled and answered, "I am lucky too." Everything felt perfect. At least, it looked perfect from the outside. But slowly, small things started to change. William was sometimes late to pick me up. He said, "Busy at work." "Sorry, love." I believed him. Some nights he stayed out late. He said he was helping a friend. He never told me the friend's name. I did not ask many questions. I told myself, he loves me. I trust him. One night, William forgot to call. I waited by the window. The cold wind blew against the glass. My heart felt heavy. He came home after midnight. He smelled like a different perfume. It was not mine. It was a strange, sweet smell. I asked, "Where were you?" He said, "Just fixing a car. Long night." I wanted to believe him. I forced a smile. I said, "Okay, you must be tired." He kissed my forehead and went to bed, but I did not sleep. My heart whispered, something is wrong. Days turned into weeks. William became distant. He did not laugh as much. He did not bring flowers anymore. I asked, "Are you okay?" He said, "Just stressed. Nothing to worry about." I wanted to help him. I made his favorite dinners. I wrote small love notes and hid them in his jacket. I waited for him with a warm smile every evening. I stayed loyal. I stayed patient. I stayed in love. One Sunday morning, I found his phone on the kitchen table. It buzzed with a message. I never checked his phone before, but something inside me said, "Look." I picked it up with shaking hands. The message said, "See you tonight." My chest hurt. My fingers felt cold. I did not recognize the number. I put the phone down quickly. I told myself, maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's nothing. But deep inside, I knew something was wrong. That night, William came home late again. I asked, "Where were you?" He said, "Helping Mike." I asked, "Which Mike?" He looked at me and laughed nervously. "You don't know him." "Just a guy from work," he said. I smiled weakly. I did not believe him, but I did not want to fight. I loved him too much. I trusted him too much. Or maybe I was afraid to lose him. The next day, I went to work like normal. I served customers. I smiled at people. But inside, my heart was breaking. I could not focus. I dropped books. I forgot orders. My boss asked, "Are you okay, Callie?" I smiled and said, "Just tired." That evening, I decided to surprise William. He always said he was at the garage after work. Thought, I will bring him dinner. I packed a warm meal in a basket. I baked his favorite bread. I wore his favorite blue sweater. I wanted him to feel loved. I drove to the garage. I parked outside. The lights were off. The place was empty. My hands started to shake. I called his phone. No answer. I waited 10 minutes. Still no answer. I started driving around. I did not know where to go. I just drove. Then I saw something. A small park. 2 people sitting on a bench. It was dark. But I knew that jacket. It was William. And he was holding a woman in his arms. He kissed her cheek. She smiled. They laughed together. I felt my heart break inside my chest. I could not move. I could not breathe. I sat there, frozen, watching the man I loved. Watching him love someone else. The basket of food sat on the seat next to me, still warm, still full of hope. Tears filled my eyes. I wiped them quickly. I told myself, "Stay strong." But my hands would not stop shaking. My mouth felt dry. My heart felt empty. I drove home in silence. No music, no tears, just silence. When William came home that night, I was sitting at the kitchen table. He smiled like nothing had happened. He kissed my forehead. He said, "Sorry I'm late. Busy day." I looked at him. I looked at the man I loved. And I wondered, "Who are you?" I said nothing. I just smiled. I just stayed loyal. But inside, a small light inside me started to die. I sat at the table long after he went to bed. I stared at my hands. They looked different. They looked empty. I thought about our first date. I thought about the flowers. I thought about the promises. I thought about the nights we laughed together. Was it all a lie? Was I just a part of his life? A piece he could hide when he wanted to? I did not know the answers. I only knew one thing. My heart was breaking. Slowly, silently, piece by piece. I was loyal in love, but maybe love was not loyal to me. The next morning, I woke up early. William was still sleeping. I looked at his face. He looked so peaceful, so innocent. But I knew the truth now. I knew there was another woman. I wondered if she knew about me too. Or maybe she was the real one, and I was the secret. At work, I could not focus. My hands felt cold. My stomach felt sick. I smiled at customers, but inside I was crying. I tried to tell myself it was a mistake. Maybe I did not see it right. Maybe I was wrong. But my heart knew. My heart always knew. After work, I sat alone in the small cafe across the street. I stirred my tea but did not drink it. I watched people walk by. They laughed. They smiled. They lived their happy lives. I felt like a ghost among them. I wanted to scream, but no one would hear me. I pulled out my phone. I stared at William's name. Should I call him? Should I ask him? Should I cry and beg him to tell me the truth? My hands shook. I put the phone down. No. I needed to know more before I spoke. I decided to follow him. That evening, I told William, I have to work late. He kissed my forehead and said, "Take care, love." His voice was so sweet. It hurt more because of it. I watched him leave the house. I waited 10 minutes. Then I followed. I drove slowly. My heart pounded in my chest. I saw him stop at a small supermarket. He bought flowers, a big, beautiful bouquet of pink roses. My favorite color was white. He never bought pink flowers for me. I followed him again. He drove to the other side of town, a place I had never been, a quiet street with small houses. He parked the car and walked to one of the houses. Before I share the rest of my story, I want to ask you something. Where are you listening from? It gives me strength to know someone is hearing my words, someone who understands me. Please tell me in the comments. I would really love to know. A woman opened the door. She was young and pretty. She had long black hair and wore a soft blue sweater. William smiled at her. The same smile he gave me once. He handed her the flowers. She hugged him tightly. Then a small boy ran out of the house. He was about 3 years old. "Daddy!" the boy shouted. I felt my knees go weak. I grabbed the steering wheel to stay up. I watched as William picked up the boy and kissed his forehead. The woman laughed. They looked like a happy family. Tears filled my eyes. My chest hurt so much that I could barely breathe. I wanted to drive away. I wanted to forget what I saw, but I could not move. I sat there and watched William carry the boy inside. The door closed. The lights stayed on. I stayed in my car for a long time. Maybe an hour. Maybe more. I did not know. Time felt frozen. My heart felt frozen. When I finally drove home, the road looked blurry. I wiped my tears again and again. I told myself, "You must be strong." But it felt impossible. When William came home later, he smiled and kissed me. I tried not to pull away. I tried to stay calm. He sat at the table and talked about his day. He told me lies, and I smiled at his lies. My heart was screaming, but my face stayed quiet. I wanted to ask him right there. I wanted to throw his things out the door. I wanted to break every promise he made to me. But I stayed silent. I needed to think. I needed a plan. The next morning, I called in sick at work. I could not go. I could not fake a smile anymore. I stayed in bed. I stared at the ceiling. My mind replayed everything. Every kiss. Every laugh. Every lie. Later that afternoon, I decided to go back to that house. I needed to see it again. I needed to know. It was real. When I arrived, the woman was outside watering her flowers. The little boy played with a toy car. I sat across the street and watched. After a few minutes, I saw William's car again. He walked up to the woman and kissed her quickly on the lips. He lifted the boy into his arms and twirled him around. They all laughed. It was not a small affair. It was not just a mistake. It was a whole life. A hidden life. I felt anger rise inside me. I had given him my love, my time, my loyalty. And he had given me lies. He had built a home with someone else while he slept in my bed. I went home and sat at the kitchen table. The clock ticked loudly. My hands trembled. I wrote a simple note. It said, "I saw the truth. Goodbye." When William came home, I was ready. I stood by the door with my small bag packed. He looked surprised. "Where are you going?" he asked. I held out the note. He read it. His face changed. First confusion, then fear, then guilt. "Callie, I can explain," he said quickly. I shook my head. "No. You already explained everything. I saw it." His hands reached for mine, but I stepped back. I could not stand his touch anymore. It felt dirty. It felt wrong. "I loved you, William," I said. My voice cracked, but I did not cry. "I stayed loyal to you. I believed in you. I waited for you. I made our home warm for you. And you had a whole family hidden from me." "It's not what you think," he said. His voice sounded desperate. I laughed, but it sounded hollow. "Really? Then tell me, William, who is the woman? Who is the little boy?" He looked down. He had no words. Only silence. Only shame. "I am not your backup plan," I said. "I am not your secret. I deserve better. I picked up my bag. I opened the door. The cool air touched my face. It felt cleaner than the air inside. William called after me. "Please don't leave. I love you." I turned around one last time. I looked into his eyes. "You loved yourself, not me." And then I walked away. I did not know where I would go. I did not know what tomorrow would bring. But I knew one thing. I was no longer waiting for a man who chose lies over love. The night was cold. The stars looked far away. But I kept walking, step by step, away from the lies, toward something better, toward my own future. I was loyal in love, but now I would be loyal to myself. The first night after I left William, I stayed at a small hotel. The room was cold. The bed felt too big. I sat by the window and watched the cars pass by. I thought about everything. I thought about how easy it was for him to lie, how easy it was for him to smile at me while living a different life. I cried for a while. The tears came slowly, like a soft rain. I let myself cry. I let myself feel the pain. I told myself, it is okay to be hurt. It is okay to be sad. But when the sun rose the next morning, I made a decision. I would not stay broken. I would not stay small. I deserved better. I deserved peace. I called my sister Anna. She lived 2 hours away in a small town. I had not told her about William before. I had been too proud. I had wanted everyone to think I was happy. But now, I needed help. When Anna answered the phone, I said, "I need you." She said, "Come home, Callie. We'll figure it out together." I packed my small bag and drove to Anna's house. As I drove, the miles between me and William grew bigger. The pain stayed, but something else grew too. A small feeling of freedom. Anna hugged me tightly when I arrived. She made tea. She gave me a soft blanket. She listened as I told her everything. I cried again. She did not say, "I told you so." She did not judge me. She just listened. "You loved him truly," she said. "That is never a mistake." I stayed with Anna for a few weeks. Every day, I felt a little stronger. I helped her in her garden. I read books. I went on long walks alone. At night, I sometimes cried, but the cries became softer. I slept a little better each night. One evening, as we sat on the porch, Anna asked, "What do you want now, Callie?" I looked at the stars. I thought for a long time. "I want to find myself again," I said. "The woman who used to laugh, the woman who used to dream." Anna smiled. "She's still there. She's just waiting for you." The next morning, I went to the local library and borrowed a book about painting. I bought some cheap paints and brushes. I sat outside in the sun and painted. The first picture was not very good. But it made me happy. I baked my first loaf of bread. It was too hard, and it looked funny. Anna laughed, and I laughed too. It was the first real laugh I had in a long time. I walked in the forest near Anna's house. I listened to the birds sing. I watched the trees move in the wind. I felt the world hold me softly. At night, I read stories about brave women. Women who lost everything but found new lives. I told myself, I can be brave too. Weeks passed, then months. William called once. I saw his name on my phone. My heart jumped. My hands shook. But I did not answer. I put the phone down and walked outside. I let the wind take the pain away. I did not need answers from him anymore. I did not need his love. I had enough love inside myself. One day, I went to a small cafe in town. I brought my paints and a small notebook. I sat at a table by the window. I painted a tree, strong and tall, a symbol of myself. An old woman sat at the next table. She smiled at me and said, "You have a kind face, dear." I smiled back. "Thank you. You look like someone who has walked through fire," she said, "but you still shine." Her words touched my heart. I felt tears fill my eyes, but they were not sad tears. They were proud tears. I realized something important. I was not broken. I was changing. I was growing. And even if my heart still had scars, those scars made me beautiful. That evening, as the sun set, I stood outside and watched the sky. The colors were soft and warm. I whispered to myself, "You are enough, Callie. You always were." I made a promise that night. A promise to love myself the way I had once loved William. Fully, honestly, without fear. One day, maybe, I would love again, but it would be different. I would choose someone who chose me too. Someone who would never make me feel like a secret. Someone who would see me, love me, and still stay. But for now, I was enough. My life was enough. I walked back inside Anna's house. The lights were warm. The kitchen smelled like fresh cookies. My heart felt light. I was not the same Callie who cried by the window. I was not the Callie who waited in silence. I was not the Callie who stayed loyal to lies. I was Callie, strong, brave, free. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share. More emotional and inspiring stories are coming soon.